An A&R was filed with the town clerk on July 31st, and as a result of that, the planning board scheduled this meeting to address the A&R. We have before us the Form A, properly filled out and signed by the owner and applicant, and a plan that I will ask the proponent, Mr. Deli Priscoli, to take us through and explain to us what's changed and what's the same. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. I think for the benefit of the folks at home, A&R is a result of the we had and so forth, that a plan cleaned up. So I think it's important to know that the plan exactly the same as the other one, with two exceptions.
Apparently you're not.
Excuse me, I apologize. I don't know what's happening.
All right, let me start over for the benefit of everybody. As I mentioned, Mr. Chairman, first of all, thank you for coming in Monday at 5 o'clock and accommodating me. All of you, thank you very much. The result of this plan that's in front of you tonight is a result of the efforts that we made at the last planning board meeting about cleaning up the application that's in front of you there, and cleaning up the technicalities on the plan as far as who's the owner and who's the engineer, and the ownership of the plan. It is important to note that that town council has been given an email that basically states that all the work that was done on this property is now now controlled and owned by me as the owner. All prior work. So what's in front of you is what you had asked me to do and what your town council asked me to do. So along with getting the rights of all the prior work conveyed to me without any issue, I also took another step forward, and I decided to have my civil engineer recalculate the plan and correct the title block. So per your request, Mr. Chairman, the title block has been cleaned up, and the stamp is obviously reflects the engineer that prepared this plan. Other than that, the plan is virtually identical, and I think if you overlay it on the prior A&R, you'd verify that.
Very good. Thank you, John. I'll open it up to the board. Mrs. Bartolini. Hopefully get your mic.
I will once. Do we want for the listeners to just quickly go over the question about how the brook will be traversed for Lot 1, and any other questions that we had gone through to assure ourselves that this was an appropriate A&R? Or should we just say we covered all of that at the last meeting and we're just here to proceed?
Yeah, I think we covered it at the last meeting, and the record will reflect how we got to this point. I think I agree with you. It's important that we state at today's meeting that we did go over that stuff, the frontage and the access, the physical access, at our last meeting, and as a result of that, the board had a comfort level, and the proponent had a comfort level to come back in with the plan essentially the same.
Right. We also reviewed the septic easement as well at the last meeting, so that does not interfere with Lot 1's A&R status. So I have no additional questions because it's the same A&R that we discussed for about an hour and a half last Tuesday, or last Tuesday morning. So I'll pass it on.
Mr. Jenks.
I would just like to reiterate that the fact that this plan shows the existing dwelling to be raised does not impact on this board's review of this plan as an ANR, approval not required, any more than the existing septic. What else is on here that isn't pertinent to our approval? Yeah, the restricted zone on Lot 4. We have two things to look at under the law, and one is the frontage on a approved roadway. There's no doubt that Deerfoot, Maine, and Parkerville are all approved roadways. All of the lots have at least 100-foot frontage, which is a requirement of our zoning code. And the last thing is that all of the lots have access or the ability to have vital access to the buildable area of the lot. And given the showing of those three things, this board has no option but to approve the ANR.
Thank you. Mr. Stein?
Mr. Chairman, I agree with Mr. Jenks's comments. Having said that, is now an appropriate time to request clarification of the existing dwelling to be raised from the applicant, or request an update as to what his discussions have been with selectmen in terms of preservation?
We'll see if John feels to what extent you can speak to that, John.
Is this on? Okay. To speak to that, I would say to you that the selectmen's meetings are ongoing. It's now what's happening right now is there is a draft agreement that is being put together between my attorney and your town council, and they're working on that. That's one step. There are other steps, but we're both working in good faith. And I think, candidly, that my goal, and I know the selectmen's goal, is to find a way to preserve the property the way you see it, forever. And that's the effort here. These are technicalities here for establishing value and things of that nature, and zoning protection and other things that need to basically be put on the shelf while good faith negotiations continue. And I think we all understand that, and that's what I'm doing. And right now, it's been a very good experience working with the town elected officials and your full-time staff as well. And I have no reason to believe that this won't be brought to a very successful and a happy conclusion for all involved.
All set, Mr. Stein? Yes, thank you. There's no one here from the public, so we will entertain the motion. Mrs. Bartolini.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the planning board, what's the word? Endorse the A&R for 84 Main Street, and to understand by so voting that prior A&Rs that we have approved will be superseded by the A&R presently before us for the 4 lots. And that's my motion.
Motion's been made.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Jenks. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. Thank you very much. Before we adjourn, I just want to go over our next meeting's agenda. We will sign these before we leave, and Hillary will do the right things with that. But I just want to go over our...
Is there a problem me sitting here?
Oh, no, heavens no. I just, stuff I have to do.
No problem.
So you can't take it.
So,
I would like to have informal discussion after.
What's this? Okay. So have you guys seen the agenda for the 11th?
No, I just made it.
No.
Oh, okay. So this is it. It's,
Whether or not you wanna have a meeting, there's not enough stuff to have a meeting for at this point in time.
so if we don't meet on August 11th, when would we?
The next one would be the first, September 8th.
Is that when we're scheduled?
Well, September 1st, I believe, is Labor Day, so.
It
the
is,
one
yeah.
after that, so it'd be the 8th.
Is that the pleasure of the board? We wanna?
Sorry, September 8th?
8, yes.
But let's talk, what was sort of a draft agenda going to be?
Appointments,
The
period.
appointments, and that's
That's it.
period. I don't think we have, do we have all the information that we asked for concerning backgrounds of people that have asked to be on these committees
We
and?
have 3 members. I have 2 out of 3 of them. The third one is coming in tomorrow morning. The 4th member, Michael Hartnett, I spoke to him today, and he has expressed a overly full schedule and no interest in being reappointed. So there are 3 candidates, and the 2 of them, I do have the information you requested. The third one will be bringing it in tomorrow morning. So you will have that information before it's placed on agenda. I also found the finding of Shopsy, and the other one was the ZAC committee that she wanted me, Jennifer wanted me to look up for, but I'm not quite sure what that was about.
That committee's been expanded.
Right, so I'm not quite sure why she wanted that, but I did look that one up as well.
Push your button if you wanna speak.
Yeah, I really don't, other than I'm willing to, although I could be here on the 11th, looking at it, I think there's it gives us time to get some information. Also, some questions that you had concerning Shopsy and our role. By the way, Jen and I did do that homework, and it is a full voting member. That the way it's written, it's clear that we are a full voting member expected to attend and do something at every meeting, even if it's not as tightly tied to our raison d'etre as Shopsy's. But to get more information on that, and she also wanted to do some review on the site plan review process. So I guess giving time for her to be able to do that and to have a full house for the meeting, I'm certainly willing to wait till September 8th.
Mr. Jenks?
8th is good.
Jesse?
I'll be present on the 8th.
Oh, okay, well, I mean, obviously, this happens all the time. If something comes up and we feel that it's in the best interest to serve the public by meeting sooner, we will. That's the way we work it. So with that, I've started to sign the Form A back to the A&R, and we'll start signing the A&R.
I need 2 copies signed and Mylar, so if you want to start one of
I need another one of these then.
those.
I thought you said you needed 2. Oh. Do that.
I got look up here, there's 2 pages here. You need such a pen, Justin. Fourth one. No, he's not here, he's not sign, so.
You can actually sign anywhere you want, but there's been a kind of a long tradition of,
Sign in order.
there was a
That on me.
there was a previous chairman who, if you accidentally signed on the wrong line, you were spoken to.
That would be the Longstein chairman?
Yep.
You need the pen.
I have it.
She has
I just need you to take the paper and then I'll give you, that's how I got the open pen in my hand across my
That one's
palm.
done. That one's not done.
I spent the day with an 18-month-old that enjoyed bubbles, dropping them all over Grammy, and
It,
a few other things, and now I've got myself covered with black ink.
if there's no other business before the board, we've signed the A&R and the Form A. If there's no other business, I'll entertain a motion
We're
to.
gonna have an informal discussion?
Would-
I have no other minutes, nothing on the agenda. If you would like to adjourn and then have an informal discussion.
It's up to you, John.
I'm not sure how informal discussions or workshops are done. Are they, you know, would that
If
be
if
done
we're in
open?
session, then it's public. Could be informal, but it's still public. If we're out of session, and it's up to you as to how you want to proceed.
Well,
Let me just point out, we can't deliberate out of session,
Right.
so it should be in session.
We can't even listen and participate in
Okay.
a conversation.
all right, well then I think I should talk about it while
Okay.
we're in session. Okay. So, first of all, I appreciate your help with that A&R. I think this, I had my engineer prepare this plan, which I'll give it to you on a draft basis, which basically shows the 4 lots with the notes removed and everything complying in the house without that note that we all find offensive.
Well, actually, the note is still there, but you're talking about that would be the next
Right,
step.
Right, that
Yeah.
would be gone. And then that would be, these are the swaps that would have to be done. I brought this just as a workshop plan. I thought I'd leave it with you. Maybe you could have town council look at it, see if it was appropriate. And if so, make any comments informally to me, then I might prepare the right, you know, a formal subsequent submission that would clean up some of the issues that we're all trying to do.
Purpose of this is to show compliance with zoning if the house stays.
Correct. Which I think it's very important that we show that. This is my plan now. The other one, the other plan I inherited, but this is so what I would, Kathleen, what I did is Arthur showed the swaps and they noted them here. So using the A&R you just signed as the baseline, and this shows the modifications that would be necessary to bring it all in compliance, still with 4 lots and still with the house being in full compliance. But I'm not an engineer. I'd rather have you look at it and study it at your own pace. Maybe we, you know, if somebody wanted to let me know, I could come back for an informal discussion in September, and you could give me your comments at that point.
And if you wanted to come back sooner, we'll accommodate that.
Okay. Well, nothing's happening, so, you know, from a physical standpoint, other than the fact that I'm mowing the grass and cleaning up the trees and doing appropriate things like that. But if, I'd like to get your comments on that, and I brought extra sheets here. I think I
Sure.
brought,
Yeah.
I brought 4 here. I just thought it'd be good to have Aldo look at it and you folks look at it and make any, because I know you referred out the last plan, and perhaps you should do the same with this and make any comments or how if there's anything different that you'd like to see on it to bring it in compliance where we have 4 lots, including a conforming lot for the house,
Okay.
which is what I think should be done. But there's no rush in the sense that you know, nothing's happening other than obviously we are working very, you know, diligently, as I mentioned earlier, with the selectmen. But from your perspective, I'd rather have you give thoughtful comments and give you the time to do it. But, and I'm prepared to make those changes and resubmit when it's appropriate.
Appreciate that very much. Thank you. Anything
I took
else?
that up. You didn't ask me for that, by the way. I wanted that so you know what my intentions are.
Completely. Yeah. We had no knowledge that you were
Right.
doing this. Right.
But I thought that was important for a study, to, you know, so you guys could look at it and make whatever comments you think are appropriate. And if you get the comments back sooner than later from council and yourselves, I'll prepare the plan sooner than later.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Jenks?
thank you for this. I think the concept is fantastic. That you're even thinking in these terms is great. Thank you.
Mr. Stein?
Definitely agree with what Mr. Jenks just said, but since I'm new, just for my own education, if I understand correctly, this A&R would then supersede the A&R that we just approved. And at first glance, it seems to be very similar, and therefore there wouldn't be much question about this one either. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And nothing on this plan for both the board's edification and the folks at home. The square footages all line up. The accesses are all remain the same. I mean, there's no. It's just a couple of property lines that have to be shifted slightly. And what we tried to do here, I just didn't want to move the lines without you seeing. It's almost like a red line version of the other one to show you how they're different and how this brings it into compliance. Because as I mentioned to you, the prior plan was an inherited plan with no intent on, having the house be there, and that's the difference. But I thought that was important. I just took it upon myself to do that because I thought it was best to look at that, and I think it's best for the board to make comments and have your engineer or I don't know if you have a peer person that looks at it, or if Mr. Cipriano does it, or whoever does it. But the sooner I get the comments back from Hillary, the sooner I'll have Arthur put a vellum together, and away we go.
The alternative to this would be to apply for zoning variances for the sidelines.
That's right.
Yeah.
But there's enough land there to make it comply without any variances.
Which is a much better approach.
Exactly. I think this is a lot cleaner, and in the long run, I think, obviously, I think everybody's dream is to see the house get restored and the land to remain open and have that vista and have that, have that as a landmark. I think that's everybody's goal. I know that's the selectman's goal. That's certainly my goal. We have to get there. It's something that everybody has to weigh in on, and everybody here in Southborough will have a say on that. But I just thought, I think it's important for people to know that there is other lots there even with the house remaining. So it's, I think that's important for analysis. Because that question's going to be asked. And I figured, well, I'll anticipate that. Let's, I wanted to know myself too, that there was no issue.
Okay. Very good. Anything else, anybody? Mrs. Bartolini?
I make a motion that we adjourn with the intention to reconvene on September 8th.
Or sooner, if necessary.
Yeah, but that's why I said the intention.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Thank you all very much.